What's up? You're watching Poot's Garage. This week we're doing a 35 spline stub shaft upgrade for our front D60. It's a lot of things to say, but we are doing it. The last video on this truck we went over we did the Detroit locker install in the front end of this thing, and so at that time I unboxed the parts that we're using for this. So I ordered up a kind of just standard 35 spline shafts, no chromollies or nothing fancy. I think they're Spicer units if I remember right. And then we also got the upgraded worn hubs to go with it. Obviously you got to upgrade the hubs for the 35 spline, but yeah, we got the nice, gold looking warns. So we're just getting into that. We're gonna install that right now. Also want to remind everybody that's watching, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, because we're trying to grow this channel and it's real slow and YouTube is not paying much. So please like, comment, and subscribe if you're watching this. We got a lot more work to do on this truck here in the future. We've been building this thing for, God, I think it's been like 2 years now. So we're getting close. We're getting to the end though. I love this. New parts just showed up. See what we got. Woo! New U-joints. Got these new Spicer units. Big guys. These are what we need. The clips. And whew, those are massive. Big boys. Cool. So those can go in there. I just gotta get that accomplished. Let's go. We're making progress. I think our last update was I only had one of these shafts apart. I was kind of waiting on things to happen, so we got the long side apart, and that was a pain in the ass, I'll tell you right now. So I ended up borrowing this small shop press from a friend. He borrowed my trailer, so I was like, well, let me borrow your press and we'll call it even. So using this thing it's working, but it was light duty for what I was doing, because those U-joints, I think they were rusted in there like really bad. So bad that I blew the end out of one of the caps here. I just destroyed it, but once that blew out, everything just went ching, everything flew apart, and then I was able to press it the rest of the way through. And that was applying heat and everything, and that press was fully cranked. I mean, that was nasty right there. But we got it out, so I can clean this thing up a little bit more here and get things going and put it back in. Going back together is a lot easier. I already pressed one side together, and that's this one here. Pressed it all together, came out really good, came out super easy, no big deal. But yeah, it's cool to see. This is the upgraded shaft here. You can see it is pretty much the same size as this side now. Well, this side flares out in the middle. Like the ends are the same size now. It does taper in just a hair, but nothing like the old 30 spline. But 35 spline is the way to go. This thing just looks beefy sitting there now. So next I'm gonna clean this big shaft up. I'm gonna get things ready and then kind of press everything back together. Well, that was not fun. That didn't go together as I hoped it would, but we got it in. That U-joint is really tight. Problem is, one of the ears was actually bent in a little, quite a bit actually. Probably when I was pressing that thing out, I had to put so much pressure on it, and then when it shot through, it kind of released one side before the other, and it bent one of the ears, so that's kind of a mess. You can see where when I was pressing it, I had a lot of pressure in there. I can get one of the C-clips in, but the second one I couldn't get in because it was kind of cockeyed, so I was kind of pressing and pushing the shaft down to kind of bend the ear and then to get the C-clip in at the same time. And yeah, it was real tight, but now the C-clips are in, it's all pressed in, so it's not just gonna fall apart, but I don't like how tight that U-joint is. Hopefully it'll loosen up a little bit when it gets kind of broken in and used, but the way it is, that's the way it goes. Way she goes, boys. So that new shaft I already know is gonna go in super easy. I put that in on the other one, and you can tap it together with a hammer, no big deal. Get the clips in, bada bing, bada boom. Not worried about that one. We'll get it together, no problem. Now I already know my plan, hopefully, is that these shafts, because they're, stock, original, they're great stock shafts, but they're nothing too crazy. But these will kind of be my backups, like I want to get some like full chromoly Yukons front and rear, inner and outer and all that stuff. So hopefully these survive long enough till I get money and I buy spares, and I'll just buy full chromoly shafts front and rear, and then these ones will still be together and they'll be used as my spare shafts basically if I break one. So that's my thought. Let's keep this thing together. Hopefully it'll last a few years. It should be fine. It's not going nowhere. Worst that'll happen is that U-joint will probably prematurely wear out because of the pressure in there, but I don't know. I can still move it by hand. It's just it's tight, so not free floating like it should be. And we are back together. Just required a slight press to get that outer one on, no big deal. So you can see this side here, nice and loose. But when you go this angle here, you can see that it doesn't free fall. It needs just a slight amount of pressure to get it to go down. So it is really tight that way. But like I said, we're just gonna run it, whatever, don't care. See the short one here that worked really good? It falls on its own. You can see it just barely has enough resistance to hold itself. So that one works great. I like the way that feels. Boosted boys on pause. We are making progress. So I've got the shafts back in the axle, both sides. I bolted on the spindle and the bracket for the brakes. So that's basically ready to go. Next, I got to start assembling bearings and then hub and all that stuff. So yeah, we're getting closer. And then obviously I have a rag over that center diff there, but that's open still. I gotta seal that up and fill her up, but we're making progress. I just figured I better give you a little update before I get too carried away. All right, we're calling this quits for the night. We got one of the brakes back on. We're starting the process of doing the wheel bearings. You can see I got one of the nuts back on. I don't have the second one or the washer. And I ran out of grease, so this side is good, but since I'm out of grease and I'm just losing steam, we'll leave torquing for tomorrow when I go buy some more grease and some other things and whatnot. And then we'll be ready to slam this thing back together completely. I need gear oil too for that diff. So we'll have to run to the store and grab all that stuff. But this is where we're leaving it for the night. And I'm sure in about 5 seconds, you'll see it tomorrow. Moving on to the next step, so I've got the wheel bearing installed and torqued down and properly done up inside. Next is to install these new hubs. It's pretty easy. Basically, your hub is 2 main pieces. You got the inner piece with the spring, and then this guy here, this is the inside piece. I don't know what I just called that, but that's the outer piece. This is inside. So basically it just goes on. There's a snap ring on the middle, and there's a big lock ring around the outside edge. So we just got to make sure all that goes in. And then we have an O-ring that also goes with the outer end. So it's pretty easy, pretty basic, but we're gonna get this thing back together here in a second. First part of the hub is in. It's kind of a pain in the butt getting that full circle ring clip thing in. You kind of got to feed it in there and then just kind of keep working it through. And I used a pick to kind of keep making sure it was set in there, and it kind of gets hung up in spots. So you kind of poke it a little more and just kind of keep things freely moving. Not entirely easy, but it's doable. And then this kit does come with a little supplemental instruction. And what it does is that little end of the ring there, you're actually supposed to bend that out just on the very end, so that you have just that little tab hanging out there, and that allows you to have something to grab onto when you remove it again. You can just get some needle nose in there and just kind of grab onto it and get it back out, versus when it's laying flat, like when I took the old ones off, it was really hard to get a pick or a screwdriver underneath that little ring to get it to pop out enough to be able to grab it and then start working it out. So yeah, it's a good little thing that they're doing. Just make sure you bend that little tab out to make it easier for disassembly later. So next is basically just to put this guy on. I believe it says to make sure it's in the free position, which I believe it is. Yep, that's in the free position. Put it on there, run the bolts in. Oh, I forgot. There's a little clip I need to put in the middle. Whew, that's a gnarly little snap ring, jeez. Update. All right, so I got the inner ring in. So this kit comes with 2 different small rings, and I'm not sure the instructions are very poor at explaining what you need to do. I think because these are kind of universal hubs, they work pretty much any Dana 60. So Super Duty might be a hair different, and then like it even says some independent front suspension applications. So if I try to use the actual snap ring that comes with the kit, it doesn't quite sit down deep enough in there, and it interferes with this collar deal here from being able to come back out like it needs to disengage. It's got a spring behind it. It'll hold it in, which is in the engaged position. So I use the full circle type clip that comes with it. There's 2 clips in there, and that one's kind of like a split ring, just like the big one around the outside edge. So I put that in there, and that seems to work. I don't know how necessary that clip is even doing in there, but I don't know, it's kind of weird. But then also when you're upgrading to these 35 spline shafts, you lose the option to put a snap ring behind the hub, which I guess it's just not really necessary. But these 35 spline shafts don't have that second ring cut into them. And I remember reading about that online, that was kind of a thing, but you can see in the instructions it shows some sort of washer and a ring behind the hub. We don't have that, but there's nothing to worry about if the hub goes in too far. It's just not an issue. But we got our little clip on the outside, and I don't even know if that's doing anything, but it's in there. I guess it would keep the whole hub from wanting to walk out. I guess. I don't even know. But we're back together. We're in. We're good. So if everything was confusing that I just said, don't worry about it. I'm confused too. But we got our clips in and everything's ready to go. We can actually put the outer piece on now. I gotta figure out where all these little O-rings go. There's actually little individual O-rings for each bolt too. I gotta figure out how does that even work without just crushing the, the deal. Or does it go somewhere else? I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out as we go. Just follow the instructions, right? Okay, let's test the operation. So right now we are in free mode. You can see the hub is spinning, but the axle shaft itself is not moving. Then we lock it, giving this guy a 360-degree twist, and now you can see we are locked. Whew. Cool, it's done. Now I just got to finish up the other side, and we can move on to the diff. We got to put the cover back onto that, put some fluid in it, and then we're completely done.
I might not be a very smart man, but I can put a Dana 60 front axle back together.
So I was editing this video and I realized I never really did a final walk around of this thing after it was done, like after the wheels are back on and everything. So we're doing this. This is probably like several weeks later at this point, but yes, the hubs are back in, the 35 spline shafts are in there, everything's good to go. You can see how it looks. It's kind of looks good with them fresh new hubs. Got rid of them cheap plastic capped ones. I already gave the old hubs and the axle shafts and all that extra stuff. I gave it to a friend. He's got a Dana 60 in the front of his Jeep that has the 30 spline still, so he can use them as spares if needed. So better than me trying to fumble around with them if I needed to use them as a replacement for some odd reason. But yeah, truck is done and it works great. I also put fluid in the diff, obviously, and the Detroit locker works great. So I haven't really used it. I got it out of the garage for the first time. I think it was last weekend, and I was kind of doing some flex tests to test bump stops and stuff like that. And yeah, the axle seemed to work good. I never noticed any noise or anything, and it climbed right up my hill as normal. Just locked them in, and away she went. So this part is done. That front axle is done. Hubs work good. The locker seems to work good as far as I can tell. So next is actually finish welding bump stops. They're still tacked in place, so I just got to finish welding those up, get them charged, and then next is start a bunch of tube work, which we are struggling with tube bending stuff right now. I got a nice tube bender here. All these videos will come out later getting that set up. I'm struggling getting my hydraulic pump set up. Thanks, China. But we're getting there. Yep, so stay tuned and please like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you're following me so you can stay up to date on this build. Thanks, guys. Bye.